What's going on, friend? I am Tony, if you know me.
Hey Tony, what's going on?
What's going on, friend? You know we're here, No Chase for TV, where you want to
I
be.
I know it's kind of weird without Chase, but we're gonna
I
make it
know.
happen.
I
We're gonna
know.
make
If
it
he's
happen. I know next year he's gonna have to get in on the Love Island conversation from the
exactly,
jump.
he's a bypass watcher. He'll scroll something and be like, "What wasn't Instant Cicada was talking about something in Melanie? Get in the show, and then you'll know."
Exactly, because there's so much to be gotten into over what 35 episodes, 37
35
episodes.
episodes. 35
Like
episodes.
that's insane to me that I'm really even saying that I've watched a show
Listen,
35 episodes in 2026.
I think the biggest thing, and I know that I'm like grown now for sure, is I was like, I'm just glad I can get my life back. I was like dreaming about the sleep I was gonna get on Monday. I was like, I don't gotta watch these people in this house. I can turn my TV off. I can go in my bed and I can just go to bed like a regular person. I have to sit, by the TV because like it's a real commitment. Like people who haven't watched the show, especially who are joining this year or last season, they would ask like, "It's on every day," and I said, "Yeah, like I clock in, babe. I have a job."
Look, clocked in. I be telling people if you miss one episode, cool. You miss two episodes, all right, you trying it. Three, just go ahead and wait till next
You
season
need to
because
go
yeah,
ahead and try exactly
you have to be on it every single episode. And like you said, it's a
dedicated.
job you really have to clock in. And I found myself this year
Mm-hmm.
actually watching After Sun because last year I didn't watch After Sun.
Mm.
This year I watched After Sun, so I feel like I took up an even extra day.
Mm-hmm.
Love Island, which it was supposed to be off on, Wednesdays and Saturdays, but
Saturday.
I did not give myself any day off besides
Listen,
Wednesday. So yeah, I'm
six
like
days a
ready to get back
week.
to my life.
Six
Crazy.
days a week. It's crazy because after Sun this season, of course, we had the different hosts, Sierra and Teffy. So it was a different energy because usually it was Ariana and the other host, Mara Higgins, and she was actually
Yeah,
on Love Island UK. And
right.
so over there, their After Sun was a little bit more interesting because they have their hosts do a live show once a week or a couple days a week in London. So it has a studio audience. You have the people come in. So it's a live, they're kind of like in the clubhouse with Andy, that type of thing. So it's like
Oh.
very interactive. So like the US one was never ever tea. But this season, everyone came in. They were spilling the beans what was going on in the house. They were like coming
Mm-hmm.
in, they had all the smoke. They were like, pew 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 pew. I'm coming for you. Like the last one we saw. Let's just stop at the finale. Then we can kind of like backtrack a little bit, okay? Because I feel
Okay,
like I'm gonna
let's
start
do it.
going over here and here and here and here. But our final four or core four, that's what everyone's calling the girls at least,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Winners, Trinity and Bryce. Runner up, Anaya and Carl. Melanie and Sincere, and Kata and Zach. So first and foremost, how did you feel about the final four? Was it the right couples? Who did you vote for in general? And what was your take on that?
So I voted for Trinity and Bryce. I actually tweeted maybe a week and a half ago, and I said, hate to say it, but the closer we get to the finale, I'm thinking I'm gonna, give my vote to Casey and to TT if they make it to the finale. I
Really?
said, yeah, I said I felt like even though Bryce and Trinity are my favorites, I think that voting for them just because they're my favorites kind of takes away from what the show is actually about. So
Hmm.
I was like, I wanted to vote the right way. So had Casey and Tierra made it to the finale, I would have voted for
Mm-hmm.
them. But since they did not, I went ahead and voted for my faves because at that point it was all I had was the core four.
Yeah.
So I was actually happy with the result. It was kind of weird in a sense because I felt like episode 10, we knew that
Mhm.
Trinity and Bryce would win the season. Like, I don't know. I couldn't even, and I'm
What
saying
was
episode
episode
10.
10? Remind
No,
me.
it wasn't really nothing specific. I was just saying
Mhm.
episode 10, like by that time, it was kind of like I felt
They had
like the
their
reception
pace.
of the show and the
Yeah.
way everything, like production, the way everything was kind of playing out, it just seemed like no matter what was gonna transpire in that house, that Bryce and Trinity would be the winner. So I just kind of had
Mm-hmm.
made up in my mind anyway
Mm-hmm.
that they were gonna win. So I was actually okay with the results. And I
Yeah.
kind of thought that it was funny that Anaya and Carl ended up runner-ups because the closer it got to it, and I mean like the final few days,
Mm-hmm.
I had there was a feeling over me where it was like Anaya and Carl may be able to sneak up and
They're
actually win this.
cute.
And mind you, I thought it was all because Carl has a charm that's
He
just
does.
like I instantly fell in love with him on the episode where Casey broke her heart and all that happened. But it was like I was only focused on Carl, and the way he was like comforting her from so far away, even though he wasn't being chosen. Something about that just made me say, this is a good person.
He's a
Like, not even
good
a good
man,
man, it's a
Savannah.
good
He's a
person.
good man. He
So
definitely like
yeah.
even in the final episodes, we'll kind of get into it. He mentioned he was like, I never felt a way about the fact that you didn't choose me because I understood your decision, but I just want to make sure that you were okay. And you could tell the polar opposites in character versus the Casey of it all and the Carl of it all. Now, I didn't even get to vote for the finals. I'm not gonna lie. I was out somewhere.
What?
Didn't even think about my phone. But I would have voted for Trinity and Bryce because that was my pick from the beginning. Similar to you, it's like Trinity was my fave. Bryce definitely grew on me because I do think that
Hmm.
he and her have a very genuine connection. But for my top four, I was struggling a little bit on whether I was gonna keep Zach, Kata, Melanie, or Casey and TT and one of the other ones because in the
Hmm.
moment, it was like out of all these people besides Trinity and Bryce, I really don't know who's the most compatible. I don't think I like any of the couples, but I do think that Casey and TT are the most compatible couple here just because they do fit each other so well. Do I like them
Hmm.
necessarily as a couple? I'm not going to say I like them too much, but in comparison to everyone else, with Melanie and Sincere being a damn mess, okay?
Hmm.
Zach and Kata, situationships in the last week is crazy. What are we talking about? You know what I mean? It just didn't make any sense, but it
Yeah.
always went back to me. We talked about this in their live. Even though Sincere was a menace in his toxic ways, I think just as a woman, I just really did not like how Casey's mask kind of slipped and how nasty he was towards the women. And that was just like always kind of in the back of my mind. I was like, listen, you've been caught on camera a couple of times saying really disrespectful things, telling,
Hmm.
say, even if you didn't say it directly to Anaya, saying that she can hop off your jock,
Yeah.
basically. That was just nasty of you. You and TT laughed at the fact that you called Melanie a dumbass. And that just
Hmm.
seemed mean spirited. And it was just kind of like, I do, regardless, I was like, I just can't prioritize that over this right now. You know what I mean? But,
Fair.
I do think they had a really strong chance of winning if more people were able to vote for them in the right way. Because, that specific vote that chose our final four was very tricky. Because
It
they
was.
banking on the fact that people can't read now. Because they said, choose your number one and then submit and then follow with three more people. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people just chose pictures and did this and that. But, like, luckily, everyone kind of fell in line because at least Trinity and Bryce were there. Now,
Yeah.
I think it was always going to be like this from the beginning. Like looking at their picture right now, even in the background, like they're all girls. And I feel like this is the return of what we call Friendship Island. And a lot of people always say they don't want Friendship Island, they want Love Island. But this, compared to last season, was so lighthearted in
Hmm.
terms of the friendships in the villa. And I feel like the dynamics between the ladies were just like, they really like each other. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. A lot of people like today, even though I
Mm-hmm.
saw it like leading up to it, but a lot of people today do not like the core four. And I feel like, yes, they had their faults just like anybody else in
Mm-hmm.
that villa. I feel like at the end of the day, you can't really villainize them if you're not going to villainize everybody else. So, I mean, at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
they all got stuck with them. I liked these four girls from the jump. So
Mm-hmm.
I have so many random tweets like in my arsenal to where you would see where I said I'm not on Anaya's side with this Casey situation. Like when it first happened, and
Mm-hmm.
I said right after I said, but I love the core four. So it was
Yeah.
just like I like you. I kind of saw this kind of happening, and that's where I kind of wanted to touch on where I felt like production had a little bit of a heavier hand this season because I felt like
Mm,
we were kind of guided from the jump
I
that
think
this would be, the final four in some kind of way. Even down to people saying that production brought Carl back specifically for Anaya to make sure that she
mm-hmm.
had somebody there. Like it was a lot to where I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna act
Yeah.
like
I heard a
I don't
snap.
see it. So
Yeah.
I was happy with it, but I did, see it from the jump. Like you kind of I don't know, even the way the bombshells rolled out the season, like we didn't get a lot of them.
Yep.
It was like they were coming, like they all came at the very beginning, and you didn't
Yeah.
get any
And
more.
no
It
one
was
else.
like, yeah, it was like there really wasn't anything besides Casa Amor that could have even shaken up the girls.
And you're so
So I
true.
was kind of like, hey,
And you're really right about that. I saw literally a reel of this young man. He was like, when you spent the last 2 months in a hotel, but you didn't end up getting into the real villa. And I guess he was kind of on retainer as a bombshell, but they
mm,
didn't have a lot of bombshells that came out. To your point, they probably really wanted these things and storylines to kind of play out because he kind of looked like a sincere dude that he has long, kind of wavy hair, similar skin tone, and they're like, you could have went in there and saved Melanie, but like I think, and this is what like looking at it from a psychological standpoint, because I feel like a lot of us, especially us older people, we watch the show, we're able to look at these young people and be like, I know exactly what's happening right now to you. I know exactly why you're not doing this. I know exactly why it's
Hmm.
hard for you to leave this person or this dynamic alone. But the producers are also kind of like looking at it from this way too, because they know these people by now. They know that if Melanie chooses someone else, she's not as drawn to them, maybe as sincere. They know that they're gonna pull to keep her with him, and they can
Yeah.
tell their personalities and personality traits by now to know what they're going to do and how they're going to move and maneuver and vote as a unit. And so, like
Yeah.
to your point, I do agree that the production had a lot to do with keeping the core four together. And honestly, through their faults, they all have really great personalities. Like even though Melanie, tweet, 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 love her down. She's a passionate friend. Anaya and her have a really
Yes.
strong friendship. Trinity was always gonna be my winner. I think since like the third episode, I was like, this girl is so funny. And for her to be the
Yeah.
youngest one in there, she had the most self-awareness. She was the most wise.
Yes.
And she just like she's like a TT baby. Like she
Yeah.
just is like that's your niece that like that's my cool niece. She funny. She can hang with us. You know what I mean? And Kata and Zach. Everyone's talking about her voice. Kata, she's that one girl that's like, that's just Kata. You know what I mean? So they make me happy because you can tell, and hopefully they're gonna remain friends. I think what also helped this season is that like nobody was, so to speak, an influencer. So their
Yeah.
motives and intentions were probably a lot more pure, and they were probably just focused on the experience and like able to
Yeah.
let their guards down a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I loved it. I loved it. So let's get into their dates because there's been a lot of conversation about the disparity in these final four dates. Which was your favorite one?
Hands down, it was Carl and Anaya. It was so beautiful to watch. And when people on Twitter started posting up like the Princess and the Frog comparisons of
Mhm.
the what's the names, I was like, did
It's
production
literally
really
that.
do this? I was like,
Yeah.
production really was eating with the way that they was handling this season. So yeah,
Hmm.
Carl and Anaya's date was just so cute to me. And
Hmm.
even though the little reading of the book, in my opinion, was a little kind of cheesy, it was still so cute at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm with it.
It went into their whole thing. I mean, I never really heard Anaya say she wanted a fairy tale, but you can tell she's more of a hopeless romantic. She
Yeah,
kind of like fits that description. Her and Melanie kind of have that same type of vibe. You know what I mean? So it
yeah,
was just so nice to see, just because you can tell that Carl really, really, really cares for this girl. His family adores her. We're gonna get into family next because I want to talk about Sincere and it all, and Casey and TT and do their parents, but let's just stick here for now. But it was just so intentional. It was so sweet, and it was just like being able to see her story. I think them reading it out put it all in perspective as well. That like she really has
yeah,
had a real journey in this villa because coming in, people forget too that like she wasn't really chosen. You know what I mean? She
yep,
stepped on Sincere's box or square, whatever, and he chose Melanie. And so that moment, she also was not chosen. So it's like I feel
yeah,
like a lot of people kind of like dogpiled on her. And I even say like I probably focus a little bit more on Casey not being chosen because she chose someone else as well. You know what I mean? So it's not like she chose
right.
him, but in the end, she still, wasn't picked in the first night either. And so like seeing that, what she had to go through, and then with her Prince Charming, they so cute. Like it was
Hmm.
just so sweet. But like these people they can't even hide it. Like from I don't know if you caught Melanie's face or Kata's face when she brought the book and she was like, no, they had us like they draw all these pictures. They was like,
I don't
they
think I caught it.
Melanie's face kind of broke. She was like, this was at your date? Like they had like string lights and roses and a storybook with y'all picture AI in it. And we got on the little tugboat to the standalone bar to make some pizza.
That's
Like
it.
they're messy. They're messy. And then even Kata and Zach, they pulled them up into the creek. They was real quiet in the creek. And then,
Theirs was the worst.
I mean, and the swamp is crazy.
The swamp was crazy. Absolutely. It almost felt like, too, production played out the dates with the order of, as far as importance, with the order of how
Yeah.
they won. Kata's and Zach's number four, they were had the worst.
Yeah.
Melanie and Sincere were number three. Theirs was kind of the second worst. I'll
Hmm.
say Brittany and Anaya's was the same as far as like they were both very, very cute.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it could have went either way depending on your taste level. But
True.
it was like looking at those, you kind of knew that they would be the top two
You
couples.
knew who the winner. I mean, hands down, I think Carl and Knives is the most romantic and the most intentional. But you did not lie. Like if I came back to the house as happy as I'm gonna be for my friends, for me to hear that I went on this little speedboat, ate some deli sandwiches. And this man
Like
said, I
what?
could one day see you being my girlfriend. I could one day see, me saying I love you. And my friend had fire dancers, tiki sticks, hearts on fire, this and fireworks over here. You got, Princess and the Frog storybooks with your names and initials engraved in the book. And I said, you don't even have an artifact from your date. I think
Nothing.
they knew in that moment, but like this is a group that I can tell is genuinely friends because they're happy for one another. It really didn't matter to them who won. I think I just enjoyed that like the most. So like honestly, as long as Trinity won, I really didn't care who placed where and what. I just knew that I wanted her to win. That's really
Same.
like all I can say about it. So,
Same. I
mhm.
feel like they also, when I was watching that, the finale and the dates, I also felt like production was, well, let me just say the whole season, but that part specifically, because I'm a behind the scenes kind of person when it comes to like reality TV now. I like to look and see like if I feel like I see somebody pulling strings and where was this
Yeah.
happening. So I was like, maybe production was using this season as a test to how they want to move forward. And I was
Mm.
like, I could see them in the future doing the last dates on before the voting for your final couple, because
Mm.
I was like I could see them doing that now, because making them, seeing how they would talk and seeing how their date went, I feel like that also influences people, because
That's
I
really
think
smart of you.
had they done the dates before we voted, Anaya and Carl absolutely could have won just off that date alone.
You could see them, I think, like falling in love with each other in that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt it through the screen. I think I almost cried. I literally was just like, this is so romantic. But that is an amazing point. Like, if I had the chance, because based off of their date alone, because even though Trinity and Bryce's was on the same level of like theatrics, I guess,
Hmm.
theirs wasn't that. Like, they said, I love you. And, that was beautiful. They're already boyfriend and girlfriend. So what more can you do? But
Yeah.
like, that moment for both of them to feel like this is like meant to be for us to be here, like in this book, like that man swayed my opinion, not gonna lie. You know what I mean? Like not too much, but it would have moved the needle just a little bit for me to do that. But that's a really great point because, like you said, even the dynamics in the house of people talking about one another. Because remember last season, Huda and Chris broke up
Yeah. Hmm.
in their final date. So
Yeah.
imagine if we had seen that before, they wouldn't have even, they'd have been
Made it
four.
to the final four
Four.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it just wouldn't have made any sense. Now, I'm glad with who won. I think they're gonna have a great time. She already has like 2 million followers, which is crazy because Alandria has 2.6, and not trying to put them against each other, but it's like she, was the second place winner, but she's like the star of the franchise. But Amaya, I think,
Hmm.
has like maybe 4 million followers. But like for
Yeah.
Trinity to have this off the first couple of days, she's
Yeah.
gonna do amazing. She's gonna do amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. She's just had a very likable personality.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a thing to where, as much as you probably hated her on that episode, she gave you enough the next episode to fall right back in love with her. Like she just
Yeah.
has that. Like I feel like some girls just have it, and she just has it. So I was like, I was not surprised to see her following go up like that. And she actually reached 1 million followers on TikTok within like 24 hours. It said she
That's
just made the page.
crazy. That
Yeah,
is crazy.
it's
She's
like
going to do
wow.
just all right. She's going to do all right. I can see like the path for all of them. Kata, if you don't get signed to Wilhelmina or something by tomorrow, you're going to be
Listen,
walking down her and Trinity walking down Victoria's Secret. I can see it now. Get them their
yeah.
wings, Victoria's Secret. Now, listen, that family day. Whose family do you think really like each other?
I'm gonna say the winners, because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, literally, once it was posted, Bryce's mama or grandmama, one of them was like, "Look at my new baby." Posted
Mm-hmm.
Trinity. Like it was a few posts of just Trinity. Like she hadn't even
Mm-hmm.
posted Trinity and Bryce together. So I was like, okay, clearly they really like this
They
girl.
love her.
Um, yeah. So I was like, okay, this is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Bryce is on the finale, when his brother showed, I was like, okay, clearly his brother is probably gay, because he kind of gave me
Mm-hmm.
gay. So I was like, it seemed like their family just has a lot of different types of
Yeah,
personalities and energy. So I was like, I could see why they would be very open and likable to Trinity, because that's just a
yeah,
whole nother dynamic of a person with already accepting and lovable people.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that I'm gonna just have to say them. That doesn't mean that the others don't like each other, but it still kind of felt more natural for them, in my opinion.
Hmm. Well, I'll just go out and say, because people trying to, kill me for it, but I don't think the Casey's mama like TT at all.
You know what? I don't think so either. The sister, yes. I don't think the mama really cared for her.
I don't think she cared for her either. Now, in the episode, Casey tried to I think he knew how she may even be perceived on, public television and stuff like that. She was like, she's a woman of few words. She doesn't really do too much or say too much. So for her to say X, Y, and Z, I'm like, if I ask my parents how they feel about someone, well, they're cute. The first thing she said was she's pretty and she's not a pushover and she had your back. That lady has nothing else that she can say about that girl because she doesn't see it for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I will say is I'm really disappointed in the fact that she did not, I say, give it to Casey a little bit, because I do think she, any parent, I mean, you saw how, a lot of the other parents, the mom specifically, were in there saying, I'm just so proud of my child. Like, I
Hmm.
raised a good boy. I raised a great daughter. I raised this, X, Y, and Z. And it's because of their actions on the show. And we saw Sincere's dad, give it to him. But I would have
Hmm.
loved to see at least Casey's mom knowing, you have a sister. Imagine if some, young man was talking about your sister in this way, or came back and kind of gave her this cold shoulder. That was not how I raised you. Now, some people thought maybe she's just reserving that for after the show because maybe she didn't like how production treated her son, or like the narrative, or the way that it kind of looked on TV, or that she was probably just nervous. I mean, that is possible as well. She's probably uncomfortable. She knows that she's being recorded in the moment, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and just say she don't see it for that girl TT. I still think that her and Casey are compatible. I do think they like each other. I do think they'll work, but I don't think they're moms. I don't even think. Yeah, Casey mama is not feeling Miss TT one bit, and I didn't like how his sister as well tried to chime in and throw some backhanded compliments and saying, "We're seeing your personality now. You're so funny. You're blah blah blah. This is what I want to see. You weren't able to do that before." It's like, what's tea? You know?
Yeah. What's crazy is a part of me feels like, so you know how sometimes mamas, or I would say boy moms, I feel like sometimes they can be a bit much. I think in this situation, her saying something that stood out to me was her saying she's not a pushover. She's not gonna let nobody, talk to her any kind of way or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It was almost like, I don't know if I was reading her saying that as, yeah, I don't know if I like her because she the type that'll go back and forth with me, and I come first. Like that's kind of what the energy I was getting from it.
Yeah,
And a part of me feels like she would have really liked Anaya. I don't know why, but I
I
feel like
think
she
so
probably would have
too.
really liked a girl like Anaya for Casey. Because like you said, to your point, she didn't give it to him or anything or whatever. But I also feel like she may have just been like, it's over at this point. But I think she would have actually liked a girl like Anaya for some
I
reason.
think so too. I mean, he always referenced when he's talking about why he likes TT so much. Like, I see my sister, I hear my mom, I hear my sister and her, blah 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 blah. When he said, "Mom, she reminds me of you," she kind of looked and said, "Uh, okay." And I think it's just like one of those things. A lot of parents want more from you than maybe what you even grew up with. Not saying that TT is a bad option, but if they both come from the same place, and everyone has a certain type of attitude or a certain type of approach,
Hmm.
you kind of see how that plays out on different levels for many generations, especially if you're born and raised in the same place. And I think
Yeah.
she probably saw, she comes from she's a very soft demeanor. She is very sweet, bubbly. They're very different types of young ladies, but I think that she just wanted to keep it cute on camera for her son and not embarrass him. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we'll see what happened. The main course was Sincere and Melanie's family.
That was actually hard to watch.
Mm. Why for you?
It was hard mainly because you see a person and you see people that actually care about them,
Mm-hmm.
trying to drill in their heads this is not good for you. This is not good for you. I think you should have better, such and such and such. The thing that made it hard for me was I understand the place that Melanie is in.
Yeah.
Because, I've been there as a person myself where it was like somebody was telling me this person is no good for you, no good for you. And I know that that person has all good intentions for me. But at the same time, when you are the person that's in it and you see another side of a person,
Hmm.
you want to really try. And I feel
Yeah.
like we saw Melanie over the entire season try and try and try and try. And yes, I do think that, you should have a breaking point. But it was just hard to see that, for one, her mom could barely speak English. So I know her saying the things that she said was, meaningful in the Spanish language. But it was the sister that was just
Mhm.
so, like, it was so much or whatever. And yeah, she was so passionate, and I felt for her because I know that from Melanie's point of view, she was like, yeah, but this is my man on the inside or whatever, but I love you and I'm hearing you. And I know the sister was like, I want to respect your boundaries, but I see this going a whole nother route. I'm really trying to get you to listen. So
Mhm.
Poor Melanie was just in the middle, like, I mean, she barely said anything. Like, she could barely get a word in. So I was
Mhm.
like, I just felt for her. With the Sincere situation, I was happy that the dad, said what he said, but I couldn't tell if it was him doing it because he was embarrassed, or more so he was doing it because, you know, that's really not who he is as a person. He doesn't rock like
Mhm.
that. Because I don't know if you saw those videos that was circulating on Twitter with his family's reaction to like the finale and stuff.
Mhm.
A part of me just kind of felt like, mm, I don't know if you really
You
like
never
meant all the
know.
things that you were saying.
Mhm.
So yeah. But I mean, watching it in that moment, I was happy that he, gave Sincere a piece of his mind because he needed
Mhm.
it.
He definitely needed it. And like for you, I could understand how you can see either side. Like, are you coming at me like this because you're embarrassed about how you looking because I'm your son, or because you're genuinely concerned? And to that, it's like sometimes you justify the means to the end, because whichever way, he needed to hear something, because it's
Yeah.
like you can hear from the other gentlemen, the other boys in the villa, and they're saying, dog, that's kind of crazy, but these are your peers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are other 20 something year old boys who are like, that's crazy, but some of them have done the same actions, maybe not as severe as you, not for as long as you, as many times as you have, but
Yeah.
y'all on the same show for the same thing. Your parent saying to you, I don't even sit at tables with men who act like you, that would cut me so deep if my parents said that to me, because it's like you're disappointed in me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When it goes from just like, and I think like, you know, I personally haven't been in Melanie's situation. I mean, I've been young and kind of like smitten for somebody and stuff like that, but I'm someone who I can kind of like see what I need to. It's easy for me to go. I'll say that it's easy for me to leave a situation,
Yeah.
and I can understand how people like can be very, very, very deep in their feelings and just attached to the idea of this could work, or having hope and just wanting see it through and trying to trust themselves. And she's still very young, so like you have to build that muscle up and trusting your gut and sometimes having the discernment. But like I would be also cautious for Melanie, because while it's good if Sincere actually got it through his head that you need to really chill, because this is embarrassing us, this is embarrassing you. You don't look good. We look crazy because we didn't raise you like this, and you're hurting this girl. If it's only because his dad said it and not because of you, Melanie, and you're actually hurting, some of the intentions may not be as pure either. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
moving forward, because I do think in this slight moment, the couple episodes that we had at the end after Family Day, I think I did see a small change in Sincere of him being like, damn, like, no, I really want to do this. But at the same time, it's like, if you're only doing it because your daddy yelled at you, I don't need it because your dad yelled. I need for you to
Yeah.
understand what you've done wrong. And if you really want to correct this, it has to be on you. And I mean, it has to be inside of you. And it can't just be because someone's going to remind you, who's, a parent or a mentor. You know what I mean? It has to be because you want
Yeah.
to do it. And unfortunately for Melanie, she doesn't have as, I guess, as strong or sturdy as a backbone as I think she thinks she does, because her trying to say, you have to fix with my family, it's going to take months, it's going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Baby, this isn't a house with controlled characters. When this man gets his phone back, and there's thousands of women who see that he's loosey goosey and he may be going, and they're gonna throw themselves at him and by the droves. What are you
Yep.
gonna do? What are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, it was a. I don't know if you saw on Twitter today, but it was like a screenshot because he got his phone back. But it was like a recorded screenshot of his the people he was following actually decreasing.
Hmm.
And somebody captioned it was like, "This is how you turn a hoe into a housewife," and I was like, "Oh my god!" But I mean, like you said, to your point, the last few episodes I did see a slight change in him. And what's crazy is it started for me when Corbin and Parmita voted him and Melanie
Hmm.
to go home
Hmm.
because that's when I feel like that's when it was a real wake up call. Like, whoa, like I know my boys are F boys too, but
Yeah,
one of them finally stepped up and said, "Nah, you that was too much." Because
I loved it.
even at movie night,
Hmm.
Corbin was making comments and he was like, "Nah, bro, that was like
Crazy.
he was," and I was like, for Corbin,
Hmm.
to be the one to say something
Mr.
and actually be
Miami,
like,
Mr.
you
having
know,
his way,
and
Mr.
he
Dead
was
ass.
right.
Yeah,
He was right. I was like, for him to be the one to finally say, you know what, you was doing too much for
cross the
real,
line.
and then standing on business the next episode and saying, nah, I think y'all need to go home because it's been too much or whatever. I was like, yeah, sincere. If your boys are saying it, and then now it's got to your dad and he's saying it, something got to give.
And I would like, to your point, I was so proud of them because a lot of people, myself included, Corbin AI, Corbin GPT, sometimes he could be a little funny, but for his age, him and Trinity both surprised me. I think like
Yeah,
he him and Parmita, I do think get an unfair edit because they are very attractive people, and I do think they're both very vain. I think that's what's so funny about their
yes,
connection because they both like that about each other. You know what I mean?
yep,
But it's like, because that's what people see first, they're just gonna put that on you. If they see a moment of you just looking, I like how we look together, they're just gonna assume that's all you have to that's all your substance is. But for both of them to be the only honest islanders, Parmita saying, listen, I think you guys care for one another, but this is toxic.
yeah.
This is hurting you.
Like y'all
You need
not
to
even
wake
having
up.
fun.
You're not having fun here. You should be having fun. For Parmita to be the only person that said that, and Melanie said that's what a real friend would say. That's beautiful. For Corbin to say basically what his dad said and say, listen, I lost trust in you that day because I don't rock with people who I can't trust. If you're telling me one thing and I see something completely different, I'm looking crazy because I'm vouching for you. I
Yeah,
don't roll with people like that. That's a wake up call that, like, the unfortunate part about the core four. I think that was what people, at least on my timeline, people were saying, listen, they're not real friends because they're not holding each other accountable. But I do think it's one of those dynamics. We've never been in that house in that situation. You don't know what it's
hmm,
like to have your friend go home and you're like, damn, like if I'm gonna be here another 2 weeks, 2 weeks in there probably feels like an entire month in itself. So it's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? They want their friend there, so I understand it. But like, none of the ladies did Melanie a service by telling her what was up. Anaya,
yeah,
until her mom and sister said, listen, you gotta, just because you want her to stay here, you gotta be real with your girl, because it didn't mean anything in the last 2 days.
yeah.
Unfortunately, you see me crying and screaming and throwing up over this man for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And on the last couple of days, you tell me, yes, I don't think you should be with him. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? It's
After
just
and mind you, after you
useless.
done championed him as well. Not only have
Team
you
sincere.
literally championed Sincere. So
Team
yeah.
sincere. It was kind of crazy to watch. Now, one thing that I want your opinion on, because I've been seeing it and me and my friends have been talking about it as well. You've been seeing all these brands saying to Melanie, if you leave
Yes.
Sincere, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. If you leave Sincere, we'll give you free food, free flights, free makeup. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's right? The After Sun host did not like it, and I'm in the middle.
I'm actually on the After Sun side. I don't like it either because at the end of the day, yes, Sincere displayed, trash behavior on the show, but at the end of the day, I still feel like we have somewhat of a responsibility as humans to just watch this show for the lighthearted fun it should be. And once the brands and the celebrities start getting involved, it does borderline bullying. And, I kind of don't ever want to put myself, I don't ever want to be that person to where I feel like I'm engaging in bullying of somebody because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's in store for me in the future. I might be on a show or, anything or whatever. So I don't like it from that aspect. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really look too far into it other than that because that was my main takeaway from it. I was more so like, yeah, yeah, it's funny, it's cute, banter to do stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But once he sees this, it's kind of like, now I'm embarrassed in front of millions of people even more
It clicks.
from, it's like it's a lot. So I was just kind of like, for me, that was a bit much.
Yeah. I just think that it's like a lot of people don't realize that these aren't just Sims. Like we joke about, oh, my Sims in the house and blah, blah, blah. Like it's funny in conversation, but like these are real people. And we've seen this girl damn near have an emotional breakdown, over
Yeah.
this situation. And it's like they're already on shaky territory. Just to come out and see people like JetBlue, every business in your hometown in Philly saying, if you do this and that, you're going to feel so otherworldly. Like you're not going to know what to do with those emotions. You're not going to know what to believe. You know what I mean? It's already a relationship that you're trying to, make work. And it's like, that's going to be a lot of pressure. Now, I wish them the best. They're saying that they're going to be going on trips and things like that. And of course, now their lives are going to be changed forever. But it's like, people can't change, and I
Yeah,
do
they
think they're a cute
can.
couple, and I do think that there's a future for them. It just is gonna have to be tested, and I just hope Melanie knows, like, some tests aren't worth you passing, you know what I mean, or even
Yeah.
taking, because like I just like someone like him. They're all very attractive people, but your stock went up overnight, not to quote Casey, you know what I mean, but
Yeah.
like you have
It
thousands of
literally
women who are going
did.
to be coming for you.
Yeah,
And
it really did.
if you can't trust them in a house with seven other women, what's going to happen there?
Yep. Yep. And what's funny is, in the beginning, on the first episode of the first like couplings and stuff,
Hmm.
I wanted so bad for Melanie and Sincere to be my faves. Like I literally wanted it so bad because I was like, these two are kind of smitten over each other. Like it was like you
Hmm.
saw it, like you said, they're very attractive people. They're attractive together. They make a cute couple. I just felt like had he played his cards a whole different way, the final two wouldn't have been as easy because they
Hmm.
could have very much, and even the way people, kind of protected Melanie throughout the whole thing. Even the way the brands were throwing themselves, I feel like everybody in the beginning really wanted them to
Hmm.
really work. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, again, hey, but to your point of as far as the brands and stuff, I had to think about it. That is a lot of pressure for Melanie because now it's like I have all these people looking at me, and I almost feel like would she be embarrassed that these brands, like everybody's looking at you like, are you the
What's your move?
fool?
Hmm.
Yeah, and what are you about to do next? So I'm like,
Hmm.
girl, like I really just feel for her. Hopefully I don't know how true it is, but I read maybe on like Reddit last year or something that
Hmm.
all the islanders have to go to like a therapy session before they're able to like go back out into the real world or something. I don't know how true that
I don't
is.
know. I mean, that
Um,
would be helpful, but I don't think they do because I mean, even Jen, she, was probably like five Islanders removed from the final, but like she was out, in a couple days and she was out and about. I feel like that's still long enough for her to be in the villa to develop some type of, attachments and like maybe
yeah,
some, not even PTSD, but whatever you need to be able to adjust. I don't think, I know that they have to do like mental health screenings and things like that before the show. So like they have to do like
yeah,
evaluations and things like that. But that'd probably be really good and mandatory. It should be, you know what I mean? Because like it's a huge
yeah.
adjustment. I mean, not only to just like the fame, because I don't know if this is real, but Anaya also hit 1 million followers as of today on
All
Instagram.
four.
Yeah, so all of them are doing what they got to do, but I think Anaya locked her page, like she went private, and it's just like it's a little bit too late now. Like there's so many people in there, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what that's gonna do, but it's probably just like even if you can, you know what I mean? The idea of being able to like retain some privacy is going to be very important for them because I mean, these are all regular people. Let's not forget Trinity, the winner. She was working at Ace Hardware 2 weeks before. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Melanie
A
managing a
bikini store
swimsuit place.
manager.
Kata, she said she didn't have a job. She was waitressing. You know what I mean? All these people went from overnight. It's going to be a lot to adjust to, and I wonder for everyone too, like what it's like because not everyone gets to maintain their 15 minutes, but I think what the show's become,
Yeah.
everyone's gonna have something. You know what I mean? I'm excited to see what the reunion's gonna look like. It's probably gonna be very messy. I mean, Trinity released a statement today asking for people to stop, I guess, attacking Bryce. I mean, not Bryce, but Zach. And
Yeah.
I don't know what they were specifically referring to. I mean, Zach
Me
was never my
neither.
favorite character. some people are saying that it was maybe some of like the gay allegations between him and Bryce, or maybe it's like his character. I mean, I think we all could know that like him and Bryce were always joking, so I never like took it seriously. Some people
Same.
may have, but I mean, his personality was a little bit questionable for me, so that's my take. But I know
Yeah.
it's that bad to where he's having it. They all had to repost it and say, "Please stop."
Yeah, I was definitely like kind of taken aback when I saw it, because I was like, at this point, like for me, when Love Island ends, it ends until the next
Hmm.
episode. I'm not one of those people who takes it, like I've been actually getting very annoyed all day because of the think pieces of the, it turns into way too much. I'm like, this is a lighthearted show. Have your opinions, say certain things, whatever. But when it turns into, oh, if it was, black women doing this, and it will be this, like it gets too
Yeah,
deep.
yeah, too
So I
much.
didn't I didn't care to look into what actually happened. But like you said, I don't know if it was because of the gay stuff or what. But I do know that there's been an, oh, since Serena season 6, it's been like a huge uptick of black people that watch this show.
Hmm.
And we know our community, and we know that homosexuality is one of those things that is kind of frowned upon still. Well, not kind of, still frowned upon or whatever.
Hmm.
So I think that watching, because even Kata's dad had a sound bite where he was like,
Hmm.
when I meet him, I'm gonna ask him like, are you this way? It was like things like that, to where I was like,
Hmm.
I was kind of annoyed because I'm like, we all know that white people and black people have very different ways of doing things. And I
Yeah,
don't know
different
about,
humors.
everybody else, but I've always known white men to be very comfortable with each other,
Same.
being naked around each other, touching each other. And I never thought anything else of it because that's just how they are. And
Hmm.
mind you, on the flip side, that's not how black men play.
Hmm.
So it was the thing where it was like I was kind of watching from a stance of, oh, this is just funny because that's just their relationship.
That's how they joke.
But people clearly were like serious and was like, "Oh, I want them off my screen. I don't want to watch this no more."
Yeah.
I even had a guy at my job 2 weeks ago came in, and he was like, "Yeah, my friends put me onto this Love Island show, and I was watching it." He was like, "And it was good." And then all of a sudden, one of the dudes was like, "Oh, girth check time." He was like, "Oh no, I had to check out of that. I had to check out of that." And I instantly remembered the episode when they were like, "Oh, girth check" or whatever. But I'm
Now
like,
that was crazy
it
of
was
of them to
crazy.
do, but it's like if that's gonna make you turn off an entire show when both of them are coupled up with women, it's just the insecurity, you know what I mean? In the math, it's just like you're taking it too
It's not
deeply.
that deep.
It's not that deep. You know what I mean?
It's not
And
that
it's
deep.
interesting that you do bring that up because a lot of people were mentioning how the boys found the show. You know what I mean? And a lot of red pill incel ish adjacent people started to like cape for Casey because they just want to spite Anaya. And it's
Yeah.
like people are wanting to make sure like this stays in its niche. You know what I mean? People who enjoy the show can watch the show, can have like positive discourse around it. Like we joke here and there. Everyone has their jokes, you know what I mean? But like when it becomes specific types of men, specific type of audiences are watching it just to hate on certain people or
Hmm.
just make it something else, it becomes unenjoyable. You know what I mean? Because this is the first time I've ever seen this many men watch the show.
Yes. Like, I mean, actually into it as well. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
was just kind of like, oh, y'all have actual like opinions about, the actual Islanders, about the show,
Listen,
like they have opinions about
the notes on
everything.
Instagram, everybody's talking about something. I'm like, are you watching this
Yes,
too?
yes. And I'm like, that is insane to me to watch. Hey, what is my dog doing? I'm sorry.
It's
Um
okay. He had an
but
opinion.
I right. Maybe look, maybe she like Casey. I don't know. But I did want to ask you a question because I saw somebody post this,
Hmm.
and it got me to thinking.
Hmm.
They said the Love Island needs to change the format for the Casa girls and Casa boys because they'll never get the same type of reaction as the OG people that enter
Hmm.
the villa. And they, went on to explain, and mind you, this is one of the things but have never really actually voiced it yourself.
Hmm.
But we've seen it time and time again. The Casa girls will never get the same kind of respect from the fan
Ever.
bases. They'll never get the same type of, love and
The
deals
other
and all
woman,
that.
they
Yeah.
instantly get
So
that scarlet letter.
yeah. So I'm
Hmm.
like, do you think that it's time for Love Island to really reconsider how they do, Casa Amora, or do you think it's a different way that they can do it? Because I'm actually interested now to see how they could change up the format
Hmm.
just to, because I do think that I will say that I do think that it is unfair for Parmita and TT to receive all the hate that they did. Now, mind you,
Hmm.
TT did come in with some energy. Parmita
Hmm.
did too a little bit, but
Hmm.
I understood, even though I didn't really care for them, I understood
Hmm.
why they had that energy
Exactly.
because, so I'm like, maybe is they need to do another way with the way they do this.
I agree with you 100% because it's just like by design, it's made to feel like them versus us. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's like by the way they go to a separate house and like you're imagining someone cheating. You know what I mean? I think that they have to do things very like strategically next season because I think for this cast at least, they locked in very early. Like
Yeah,
aside from Anaya, everyone's with their day one. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's just like that's not that's not bad, but at the same time, some could say you're playing it safe. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
genuinely thought that at least Trinity and Bryce were always the people where like I think they like each other. Like I just always saw it from the beginning. I think they genuinely like each other. Sincere obviously did his big two. Melanie, she kind of played a little bit, you know what I mean? But she was always going to be with Sincere. I think she always like, oh, he liked me. Because I think in the very early days, he was, liking her a little bit more. He was kind of chasing her a little bit, and then it became unfair, you know what I mean? And then
yeah.
with Zach and Kata, he played as well in Casa Amor. And then I think it's just that type of like, when you have people in the house playing house, they have no choice but to end up, for lack of better words, common law. You know what I mean? So they're
Yeah.
gonna think that's my man. You're cheating on me, and they're gonna receive that energy just based on
Hmm.
how it's set up. You know what I mean? And I think they did everyone a disservice by not bringing in more bombshells and more bombshells to test their energy and kind of gut check a little bit because they got very comfortable after Soul and Caleb and Jen. That was it. And
That
that
was it.
caused enough trouble than necessary because after the letters they didn't have anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple days later or a couple episodes later was Casa more, but after those like love declarations damn near and those letters, what do you expect for people to do? Because this is like prematurely saying we are a couple at this point. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's like I think that they need to reconfigure how they do it in the early days to make sure that people, you don't just stay here. You need to actually, because the Love Island I'm used to, every single day they're bringing someone else new in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they need to separate people because I think like being able to see everyone's reactions also influence how people moves, a la Casey and Anaya. Because when Soul came in, he was like, "Ooh wee, she looks like my ex-wife." He was visibly excited. I mean, he should have been. It's still early
Yeah.
days. They both deserve the chance to go and explore. But seeing Anaya cry influenced how Casey moved after that completely. So he didn't want to see her cry, and so it's
Yeah.
like he withheld himself and unfortunately kind of shot himself in the foot by he just moved dirty after that and sneakily. But I 100% agree because everyone kind of knows it's tricky being a bombshell. Kata was very lucky because if you're not in the first week of a bombshell, sometimes it's not looking good for you, babe, because everyone's
Yeah.
already done. But I'm thinking back to earlier seasons of Love Island UK where people come back from Casa Amor and end up in the finals.
Yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
like that's what it should be a possibility because that's the show. Otherwise, we're just gonna have seasons like this where it's gonna be I wouldn't. It was still entertaining, but it's a lot more, I think, like dramatic and emotionally
Yeah.
dramatic than it needs to be.
It was. I kept seeing a good friend of mine. Every time he would post about it, he would hashtag cinema because that's kind of what it gave. Like it was definitely cinema. Like I felt like I was watching a movie at one point or a
Yeah.
series, like an actual series at one point. So yep, I agree. My aunt, I was talking to her earlier.
She watch
She
it.
loved. Yes, she's. I mean,
Love it.
it's bad. We could have had her on this show and she could have ran it. I'm telling
She would
you.
have been talking us to death.
Um, but she told me, she said that for her, Love Island did a disservice to the season when they cut the Casa Amor boys in half in one episode. She was like, they should have had at least two episodes with all 12 men to
Everybody
let the
stay.
girls, yep, to let the girls really see who they really enjoyed. And I was like, you know what? That's a really good point. I was like, because when they
Absolutely.
cut it, it's almost like they forced him to quit to pick two. I mean, to pick a person too quick because we
Mm-hmm.
see what happened with Jen and Gall. It wasn't a really it was kind of like, oh, I like him, so I'm gonna choose him, but he didn't
Yeah.
really care for her in that way. So it just kind of made the whole thing just kind of awkward. So I was like, they
Because they
probably
had
really
all of
should have
what,
kept
3 hours together, if
like that's
that.
it. It was not long at all. They definitely should have kept all of them and seen where it landed.
You know, because I think they just knew their people. This season, they knew that these people are a little bit they're in a little bit too deep, and they're not going to kind of waver from that. I mean, I was kind of surprised that Trinity chose that boy Corey initially, but
Yeah,
I think she was still like, let me try it out. This is the experience, but quickly understood this is not the guy for me. I'm
yeah,
not really feeling it. You know what I mean? But like, I also agree that kind of gut. I mean, were they all required to choose one?
yeah. They had to. Everybody had to choose one person that they wanted
Mm,
to come back with.
yeah, I agree with Auntie. They should at least stay the night.
Yeah,
Let the
I
boys
should
make
have
a
at
breakfast or
least
something.
stayed
You
the
know what I
night.
mean? Have a nice little afternoon. Because I mean, literally, those boys had all day, 2.5, 3 days with those Casa girls. Could understand. You could actually build an emotional connection with someone and choose. Like, okay, do I want to be with you? Can I X one? But we'll see. We'll see. I
Yeah,
mean, there's so much to come this summer. I mean, the reunion's gonna come out the 31st, I believe, of August. Is that what
of
they said?
August. Yeah. Hmm.
Do you know how much drama is gonna start in the next
Oh,
week?
that's why I'm like because everybody was like, why they waiting so long? I said this is done on purpose
Mm-hmm.
so they could see, how the Islanders are feeling each other outside of the villa. It's gonna be things like, oh, I saw you said this on Twitter. Oh, you weren't checking your fans because they said this about. I said that's purposely done for them to
Mm-hmm.
do the reunion on the 31st. So I mean, I hate it because I'm one of those people that wants to see rainbows at the end of it all, and I would love for them to all, be cool and all that. But TV. So hey,
TV, the drama
I'm
of it
ready for
all.
it.
Any predictions for like blow ups at the reunion or major conversations?
Blow ups, blow ups, blow ups, blow ups. I do think that I can't say blow ups. I do think that the Bryce and Zach gay stuff will come up
Mm.
because I think that it was such a big deal this season
Yeah.
as far as like with the reception of people and I kind of felt like even with that production kept playing a part with making sure they showed those things or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was so many moments where I was just like, they didn't have to show us that, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to hear that, but they showed. But so I was like, I feel like it's gonna come up, but I can't think of any blow ups that would happen. Um, I feel like the only things that's really gonna happen is the same stuff from last season, as far as like not checking your fan base because
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the thing that seems to be the most jarring for them coming out of the villa,
Yeah.
having so many, like you said, having so many millions and thousands of followers now, as to where it's almost like you expect me to get in the comments and respond to all these people saying, no, stop it. Because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, people are going to do what they're going to do.
Exactly.
Us saying, even mind you, Love Island at the beginning of the season, they literally say, give you a disclaimer. These are real people. We don't want any hate, such and such
Yes.
and such. And the people look at that and say, all right, girl, whatever. And so it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's going to be the basis of the argument. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I don't know what to really say. I don't want to see that, but I'm expecting it.
You were so positive. I love that for you because I completely see these people arguing down. Saul and Beatrice, they've
Oh,
kind of been
I forgot about those two.
they have been, kind of going around and, talking and doing things and that. So I think there's going to be some energy there. I do think they're going to have the KC and Anaya TT conversation could go one of two ways. They could be like, you know what, we've really grown from this situation and I'm happy they have whatever they have going on. And that's probably going to come from Carl and Anaya's side. And
Hmm.
then other side could probably be like, well, I didn't appreciate how X, Y, or Z, or how you're, like you said, not checking your fans, not, setting the record straight about this and blah, blah, blah. And then I could see Amora and Melanie possibly
Forgot about
going
her
at it
too.
and Sincere. Just the main character. I think Sincere is going to have a very rough reunion. Um, and then we're just going to see what happens from there. I
Mm.
unfortunately, unlike last season, I don't think we're gonna have like any stars necessarily. Like even in season 6, we had PPG, and they were such a close knit thing to where it's like, oh, that's PPG. The core four, they do have like a base, but I could see them very well all being my man, my man, my man in their own little world where they don't move like as a unit. You know what I'm saying? Like I think they'll
Yeah.
defend one another, but like I don't think we're gonna see this cast as visibly as we have seen different casts before. I think that's more so what I'm thinking, and possibly together because last season obviously Nicolandria took it to the moon, but PPG we still see them, you know, as PPG, their brand. So I'm just excited for everyone. I think it was a successful season. Everyone won who I wanted to win. The order was even okay for me. But
You keep making good points that make me think, because now I'm thinking too. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. I'm
mm,
thinking too that, here on my production mind, I'm thinking that, is this a thing that production is purposely putting out there in terms of, like, is okay, how can I say it? So PPG, then
mhm.
you had Nicolandria from season 7, and now Core 4. Are these bases connected to
Mm.
production to where they're getting something off of them? Because I see kind of different from what you're saying, but I see it in the same way as far as them being actual friends, but I do see them doing like, we're about to get Core 4 photo shoots. We're about to get Core
Yes.
4 merch. We're about to get Core, like everything is going to be Core 4. Like, so I feel like, is production doing a thing now to where it's
Branding
like
people.
where they're branding groups? Because like
Mm.
PPG, Nicolandria, of course, is still a thing. I mean, Nicolandria was a huge shirt for the Knicks game where when they were doing like those Nick such and such, like
Hmm.
people's shirts said Nicolandria, and I'm like, what? Like I was so lost with it, but
Crazy.
yeah, so I'm like, maybe it's a thing to where they're kind of like picking these, because who came up with the core 4? Like that just kind of showed up on
It
Twitter and
took
everybody
off.
ran
Someone
with
on
it.
Twitter just said it randomly one day and just said core four. I think they're seeing it now, which is funny. Obviously, they're seeing everything from the season, but like someone just took it and ran with it, and I mean it stuck because we know who you're talking about because they are friends. They are, you know, having each other's back. They're the core four in the house that you want to see win. That are always talking to each other, always, you know, finding each other when it's time to divulge and, you know, just have that little gossip around the villa and stuff like that. So it stuck. And I mean, I think they're all very genuine people. So there's not one person that I think is gonna like spite the other person. There's not one person who's gonna do this or that to like, you know, break it up. I think they're just four young ladies who found love or something over the
Yeah.
summer. Hmm.
Somebody made a point on Twitter and they said, it's very interesting that the core 4 became 3 OGs and a bombshell, because technically a core 4 should
Yeah.
be the
Hmm.
OGs that enter. They said, so technically the core 4 should be Kenzie with the other 3 girls. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good point.
You kind of ate. You kind of ate. You kind of ate. But Kata did what she had to do. She did what she had to do because she got there, I think, on night 2. So it's like
Yeah.
she really didn't miss a beat. She didn't miss too much. But
Yeah.
I mean, they stuck it out for sure. They're sisters. They're calling them the Cheetah Girls too. So
Oh my God. Lord.
every single thing. Well, my friend, I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
What would you rate it out of 10 this season?
For me, I enjoyed the season. I will say, from a from a season based off what the show is about, I'll give it a
Mm,
6.
mm,
But as far as enjoyed watching the season, I'll give it a good 9. I enjoyed, like, I felt like it was, like my friend said, it was cinema. Like I was hooked. I was looking at it. Like I said, I would have never
mm-hmm.
watched After Sun. I was looking, I wanted to know what was going on. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a good, I'd say a good 8.5.
I have to agree. 8.5 is solid. I think that we got what we needed. We got some resolve, especially in Anaya's story. So I think that was very nice to see her end up with her Prince Charming. Melanie and Sincere, TBD, we're going to see. I mean, you see that one friend who's just like, she's lost in love. She'll find her way at some point. Brinity, that's just the young hoe, and she had a great summer and she found her man, you know what I mean, and she you know, young but wise. And then
Yeah.
Kata's beautiful, and I
Yep.
love you know, I think we'll see what happens with them, you know what I mean, but she stayed. She did what she had to do as a bombshell and she made sure she stayed. That's what I'll
Yeah.
say. It's 8.5 all around. Entertainment, the looks were there, at least for the last episodes, and I'm excited to see what everyone does next.
Yep. And this was I mean, the casts are normally attractive as a whole, but this is a very attractive cast to me as a whole. I feel like the men were nice looking. People did not think that Bryce was cute. I always thought that Bryce was handsome. I just hated his hair.
It was that
Um,
hair.
yeah,
He
it was the
got
hair. But I'm like, if y'all would have went back and looked at Bryce's modeling pics, Bryce is nice looking.
he's
But
always
yeah,
nice looking.
I was like, it's a nice looking cast. It's diverse. So I mean, hey,
Yeah.
what can we be mad about?
I'm a happy camper. Well, shout out to us. Another season of Love Island in the books. We finished our summer job. Okay. Didn't
Right.
get paid for it.
Love Island didn't get paid for
Not a
it.
lick, not a penny, not a cent. But it's okay because I will be back next summer. Hope you're
Period.
not
And
single
we'll
and
be back.
vulnerable.
Look, we'll be back on the 31st too, or right after the
Exactly.
31st to recap that reunion because I'm actually
Exactly.
ready.
It's gonna be a tea. Okay, my friend. Well, I guess we should tell the people where to find us and everything like that.
Yes,
You go
yes, yes.
first.
You can find me on Instagram at nice to meet me. That's nice, the number two, meet me. And that's the only place I want you to find me at. You don't need to find me nowhere else. But before we go too, I also want to say I enjoyed the show and we
Mm-hmm.
definitely took care of everything that we need to take care of
I
without you
agree.
being here, Chase. But yeah, we want you to watch next season so you can be here with us on
Yeah,
this
if we're gonna tie
conversation.
you down, you can use my peacock if you need to, friend. Okay, I'll give you the password, and you can find me at I Love Antoinette on all socials. That's ANTOINETTE. I go by Tony if you know me. So, I mean, friend, let's be friends in real life. That's all I can say. Love Island. I mean, would you ever go on the show?
No, no. I'm not built
Simple.
for I'm not built for reality TV. I mean, don't get me wrong, the right opportunity,
Hello.
it has to be the right opportunity
Hello.
on the right network. But
Hello.
yeah, but more than likely, no. It just opens you up. For me, it opens you up to a lot more than I
A
would
lot of
need in my life at
scrutiny.
this age. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
in my
agree.
20s, yeah, but no.
Listen, I'm in that last 20, and I'm like 3 years ago was like the perfect point for me, but it's so much. I'm like, I could never do that. And I'm too like clocked in now. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do it with them people. But
Our
either way,
production hats. We're not about to let
exactly.
nobody make us
Let's
look
go on the
crazy
other
on
side.
TV.
I'll hide in the plants if you need me to. All right, guys. Well, talk to us later. It's No Chaser TV, where you want to be.